Welcome back to Cheche. We're discussing education, and the question we've been asking all morning is how the new curriculum should address Kenya's challenges. Here's some of your feedback. My question is, will the curriculum change succeed without empowering teachers and sensitizing main implementers? What's empowerment if teachers went back to class to empower themselves to levels of degrees which are then put on hold, yet there were similar promotions on the line? That comes from Makori. I think Mr. Sosion has a point. Let the government not rush into introducing the curriculum. Teachers should first be prepared fully. We should not ambush both the teacher and pupils. I think this might be another cash cow to some people. There was a question. Please, how will the new curriculum be implemented without the finances to ensure its success? And these are some of the feedback. These are some of the things that people are saying about this new curriculum. There are teachers writing in to ask about the medical insurance scheme, which I think you can address separately. Kindly, can we have KICD write and develop a scheme of work and charge the teachers with delivery of the contents so that there is a level playing ground for all students across the country? Our education lacks so much on fostering national values. How is this being addressed? Where is the place of special needs children factored through the learning process? And so I'll come back to you, Dr. John, because before the break we were talking about safeguarding quality. Mr. Ndimuli gave you, I think, 2 or 3-pronged approaches, teaching standards, but also the tools. And the question that we went on the break on was, will these tools be accessible? Will they be affordable?
There are 3 components to quality. Of course, there could be others, but we are focusing on teacher training. I think we have addressed that and how this is going to be undertaken comprehensively and within the continuous professional development of teachers. Another component that I didn't mention that I should have mentioned is that we are also reviewing the teacher education framework in this country for pre-service teachers, and the standards we are doing will cut across. I know universities have their own acts that govern their operations, but we are working with TSC and the standards. The framework is already, the draft form will soon be presented to Kenyans to engage with, and that should help us in pre-service training of teachers to improve the quality. The second component, of course, is the content, and that we ensure is good enough as KICD. Then we have the curriculum support materials, and you know that currently the government is pumping in a lot of money for buying materials for schools.
Mr. Ndimuli, is that your experience? Because I think you got your capitation grant late this year.
Yeah.
So we always hear that the government is pumping money, but disbursements are late. Yeah. Both political camps, we're still electioneering, have been promising free secondary school education, but we know what happened when free primary schooling was delivered, that it was done rather haphazardly. So when you tell us that the government is pumping
in money, I think we have to be sure that we know this is what has been allocated for the education sector.
Allocation doesn't mean
the process of how that is done is what needs to be improved. So the money is already allocated. How that is implemented, these are the things that we need to address so that the issues of curriculum support materials are actually availed.
There is also an issue with the book publishers. I think there are some decisions were made that are annoying book publishers.
I think maybe that could be another discussion. If you want it, I can take it up. That what the government has decided to do is to buy materials, to buy books for learners in schools. And I think this is something that any other government, if you go to several countries across the world, that is what governments do. So I don't understand, because these materials are going to be bought from publishers. The government is not publishing books. Okay, look,
this is what Solomon says. Imagine, however nice the system will be, Kenya is not in a position to even start it because the country has no finances. So Sion will need money to pay the teachers on training and even their salaries. Let's think it over again and again, considering all the logistics. So again, we come back to what we also discussed during the break.
Just one point.
The fact that certain schools will be able to access, the best of what this new curriculum offers, and others, again, as with 844, will be left behind.
Just one point.
Just a minute.
5.6 of GDP in this country goes to the education sector. Check, look at statistics all over the world. Kenya is one of the countries that is putting very high amount of resources. Check the highest,
which is okay. I don't think that is anything that is debatable.
Yes.
We are putting so much money on the education sector. The
Yes.
issue is, like Bwana Indimuli will agree with me, how is this distributed across the country? Because we have schools that receive 60 million shillings for construction, and we have a school that has mad world houses that never receives any money for construction, maybe because it's a village school.
I think that is then what we need to address, how equitable.
And I think that's the point you wanted to make.
What we need to deal with now.
Yes, I think Dr. Juan should come out very clear and tell us that he doesn't see a viable financial framework to implement this. You have developed a very good framework, but you don't have the answer to the financing of it. And I think we get to the bottom of the economics of the new curricula. Conservatory estimates by education economists put it at 40 billion to implement. It will require huge amount of investment.
What, $1 billion per year?
Yeah, at the start. At the start. Remember, it's going to be rolled out over the years, but to begin, that is what is required. And it brings us to what Indimuli is talking about. We need quality teachers, and there must be investment in teachers, both in training and in service, which I don't think we have seen a viable framework. What we are seeing are just mere public relations. If you are getting teachers for a few weeks in the month of December, that's not a guarantee that you've really trained teachers. We need to discuss. Number two, the quality of teaching and learning tools, because you're talking about competence. The infrastructure investment is a priority. It needs to be done, because we are talking about training athletics, training all forms of skills. It requires huge amount of infrastructure investment. Are we prepared for that? If we don't do it, then we're headed for disaster. That's the truth, for sure. And that is why we need an open conversation on this.
Which is what we're
asked
having.
the cabinet secretary, we asked formally that, Buena Minister, can we have a forum to discuss the economics of this? And he said, yes, we will accord you a forum. He has never done so. And so here, to me, we are headed for disaster. We are being more theoretical than practical. And I gave examples at the beginning that South Africa tried. He has confirmed. It
You did
never
not
worked.
confirm. You're being disingenuous, Mr. Sosiona, because you're picking selective examples. You also made the point about starting where you are with what you have and going forward. Otherwise, we will constantly be evaluating. And so the best use of our time on this the discussion today would be, what are the problems, what solutions do you prefer, and seeing where we can, meet and ensure that we come to some sort of agreement for the benefit of Kenyans.
Can I just make a
I think
comment?
that is where I am.
On money.
That is where I am.
On
Just
money?
a second.
Yes.
As we talk now, we know that last financial year and this financial year, last year the government allocated 5 billion for infrastructural development in schools. This year, I'm sure you saw this in the papers, the cabinet has approved 6 billion for infrastructural improvement in schools. Next year, the World Bank, I'm sure that you also read that, has allocated the government 20 billion that we'll be getting from January to help improve infrastructure in schools that are disadvantaged in difficult areas. So when we talk of 40 billion, and you compare to what the government, and when I talk about that, I've not talked about the money that is allocated for the materials that are bought in schools. So, and then I've also explained that the curriculum is going to be rolled out in stages. When we start with early years education, the infrastructure you need for early years education,
Which is the preserve of the counties.
Pre-primary is the counties, and then lower primary is for the national. So the infrastructure you need in the schools to help the learners start engaging with what we call the prototypes. And incidentally, if you go to the pilot schools, we did produce samples of the prototypes and took to the schools. And what we are telling the teachers that in the context of creativity of a new curriculum, you don't need to buy materials from a shop in Nairobi to come and put in your school. You use the local materials because the kids need to interact with their context. So the kind of prototypes that we talked about, and you can go to those schools and see them. In fact, we found in some schools they produce such wonderful prototypes. So unless we conceive it that we are buying technology from very high levels and taking to the schools, it is not the case. It is creativity with your local context in mind.
Mr. Ndimuli, your perspective on the economics of it, given that you were quite frustrated around June and July looking for money.
Yeah, thank you. We want to first appreciate that the government is pumping in money to schools. But the biggest challenge which we have addressed with the Cabinet Secretary and the PS, which they do agree also, is the timely disbursement. We are supposed to receive funds at the beginning of the year 50%, and starting of term 2, 30%, and the start of term 3, 20%. Now there has been a challenge in that the government financial year ends in June, and now we need to wait. So you find in second term, instead of getting the 30%, it is split into two. You get some percentage of the 20-30%, and another one comes, and it comes as late as September. And then the 20% for third term also delays. This leads to a lot of programs being delayed or shelved altogether. The minister has assured us, and I hope Treasury will cooperate with him on this, that from next year there will be a big change. Now, coming to the issues of the infrastructure. This is,
hang on, money is also needed for free secondary school education.
Yes, next year.
Do you think that's feasible from where you sit as the chair of the Secondary School Heads Association?
That is the challenge, because we need to be given more information. As at now, schools are supposed to be preparing their budgets for next year. We need to understand, especially those in boarding schools, what is the aspect that the parents are going to take over.
It needs to come out very clearly.
Yeah.
Speaking as a parent, what does free second education mean?
And therefore, what will be the responsibility of the parent? What is going to happen, and which we have been asking, on the ongoing projects that the schools are having? Currently, quite a number of schools have stalled projects. They have loans they are paying, but they are not receiving from the parents, and this needs to be addressed. The issue of infrastructure, who will now handle? The director has mentioned that the government is putting in quite a bit of money. We want to appreciate that, but still request that the distribution must be very, very even, so that a school is not added when another one still its infrastructure is very low. And here I want to believe our officers in the field are currently taking stock of the infrastructural needs of the schools. When it comes to instructional materials like textbooks, which the government has committed to provide, as we welcome that, again, each school should be allowed to present their needs now, so that there are those schools that already have the ratio of 1:1, 1:2, that may not be may not be needing certain material. But again, we need to address the issue which the Cabinet Secretary has always challenged us on, the issue of funds having been pumped into school for textbooks. But he visits the schools and finds one textbook being shared amongst 5. It is very frustrating.
So does that mean that the funds have been misappropriated by your colleagues?
Not really. That could just be one reason. But the biggest challenge is the second-hand book market.
Okay. Look,
libraries, let me just make it clear.
Because we're winding
books
up
are
now.
Libraries are being broken into, and these books end in the market. It's a legitimate business. I have no quarrel about it, but we need to put some legislation on which type of material are these people going to engage in. Otherwise, the books will come, and they will still end up
Okay, look, we've run out of time. We've tried to do a lot in this conversation over a limited amount of time. The thing that we haven't addressed is the component of the new curriculum, the emotional intelligence. Because everywhere across Kenya, we see signs of limited emotional intelligence. And so as we wind up, Dr. Juan, how are you imparting or fostering emotional intelligence?
Thank you. Incidentally, if you look at our principles of the basic education curriculum, and then you go to what we call the pertinent and contemporary issues, which are embedded within the 21st century skills, one of the things that is deeply embedded in the curriculum is what somebody might call emotional intelligence. But again, this goes beyond just looking
emotional intelligence, life skills.
Exactly. This is part
building.
of the 21st century skills. And it's the soft skills, for example, when you talk of people relations. How do you relate with people under specific circumstances? How do you deal with situations when they occur? These are some of the things that we have thoroughly included in the current curriculum.
No, I understand you've done all of that, but surely it has to be a sign of limited emotional intelligence if a nursery school is tear-gassed, if schools are on fire, if students are rioting and we see police brutality. There is very limited emotional intelligence in Kenya at the moment. And so how are you fostering that?
Incidentally, other than what you have embedded in the curriculum, because the people who will go through this curriculum are the same people who will become policemen, who will become teachers. So what we need is to make sure some of these start from very early years. Now, as it goes now, several institutions incidentally are engaging our services to support them develop their training program, including we have been working with the CID, we are working with several government institutions, because they realize that the new curriculum that they need to develop for their various trainings need to embed some of these values, and we help them know how to deal with it. But for us, the main thing is to make sure we focus on the future, and as this goes on, the people who go through this curriculum will appreciate that you don't go tear-gassing children in nursery school.
But you suggested earlier.
We're winding up. We'll tell you very quickly, but
I wanted to find out about...
you can't find out. You can make closing remarks.
Yes.
I wanted to find about day schools. Yes. You have said you are kind of opposed to boarding schools. What happens to people who go to the same primary school, secondary school there, the university is there, they don't have any concept of Kenya?
I don't know whether they have to go to the university there, but I think
that's what happens.
What people acquire in learning and how this affects them.
No, isn't Mutegi's point that earlier on people used to go to school across Kenya, and then during the Moi years that policy was changed to ensure that you went to school in your province, whatever, and so you had limited interaction with Kenyans of different backgrounds.
And what I'm trying to say is that the current mature political crop we have in this country went to those diverse cultures, but how are they behaving? Are they demonstrating that? That means we need more than just interaction in terms of education for people to appreciate diversity. So it is not just a matter of interacting.
How is it incorporated in the curriculum?
It is in the curriculum within the contemporary and pertinent issues, the citizenship, national values, how do people acquire it and appreciate who we are as a Kenyan community. And I mean, I will repeat, the mature crop of politicians we have now, look at how they're behaving. But they went through an education system where some of them went wherever. So it means, other than that, we need more than just interacting with people.
Okay, so we'll have to end there and hopefully continue this conversation some other time. Mr. Hussein, I'm sorry. The conversation is alive on Twitter and various others. We're not going anywhere. We can have you back and can revisit this.
Just one sentence.
No, because we're out of time. I can hear the music. So we're out of time, and I'll have to appreciate your time. Dr. Julius Juan, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development Director and CEO, Wilson Sossion, Secretary General of NUT, the Teachers Union, also nominated MP from ODM, Mr. Indimuli Kahi, Principal of Chavakali Boys High School in Vihiga, but also the National Chairman of the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association. We thank you. We apologize for the truncated nature of the conversation. It's an important one, so I don't think time will ever do it justice. Our thanks also to our panelists, Mutegi Njau and Charles Odhiambo. My name is Udwa Kamimo. Thank you for watching and engaging with us here on Chacha. We'll see you next week.